Welcome to a new edition of the Famous Interviews with Joe Davino. On this episode, we talk with sports agent and sports business consultant and strategist Adam Lee Spencer. He provides his expertise on sports business and consulting topics and global sporting affairs as a part of 326 ventures. At the core of his consultancy work is stabilizing and strategically initiating future operations for organizations and projects. This includes topics concerning the player, the venue and arena, rights holders, marketing and sponsorship, major sporting event bidding, international sports, and sporting cultures. He is also providing a diversified and informed opinion on our military, international relations, political, racial, social, and cultural issues pertinent to today. From his base in Seattle, Washington, we cover his fascinating path to sports business and beyond. Enjoy this interview.
Well, hey, man, it's great to meet you. Thank you for taking a minute out. Where are you located in the world?
Seattle.
Okay, Seattle, right on. Well, I'm in Kansas City, so at this point of the year, we are at that definitely at that sports football crossroads of excitement.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's still weird to me to think, because I grew up as a kid. I used to go to training camp for the Chiefs, and it was in the dark ages. You know, it was when It was drafting Todd Blackledge and it didn't work out, then relying on Bill Kenny, having decent coaching, then getting Marty Schottenheimer, never getting there. So I've watched this mutate. So the fact that we're at this point where we could become the best team in NFL history is totally bizarre to me.
Okay, so at the same time, I was watching Bradshaw throw his arm off in Shea Stadium, Cliff Stout play a playoff game. The next year, we saw David Woodley off the Super Bowl. He ended up losing to the Dolphins, the team he played for the year before in the playoffs. And the steady spiral down through Bubby Brister, Neil O'Donnell, Cordell, Okay.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So totally. It's a part of the DNA for sure. But, man, I'm looking forward to getting into your work. So thank you so much for taking a minute out today. I appreciate it.
No problem.
So the one thing that was emblematic of, living through the pandemic was that it was probably one of the very first times in the history of sport that everything came to a close unanimously for quite a while. So in your line of work, how much has living through that time period affected the way that you do business and deal with clients today?
Well, I will say this. Personally, it was really good because I gathered a lot of information and gained a lot of knowledge. Just a little background. So in 2018, I had finally retired from the military and got back here and was just trying to go full bore into the job and building and learning all at the same time. And as the pandemic kind of settled in, everything went to Zoom and everything was a webinar, and so much of the connection was a learning process also because so much information was passed. So for me personally, it was actually kind of great because of so much, the amount of information being passed, and I didn't have to catch a flight to wherever to get that information.
I totally get that. That makes sense. I mean, because I remember from my perspective, when everything shuttled over to telehealth, it was so much more convenient to not have to load up in a car, drive somewhere, and drive back. You could just hop on a computer and you could basically essentially get what you would do in person taken care of.
Yeah, exactly. And, I had never seen so much, let's put it this way. In the 2 years I had been back, I hadn't seen so much accessible connection and networking happening until the pandemic happened. Then, like I said, everything was a webinar or it was on Zoom, and it was emails and notes and PDFs and slides back and forth. And like I said, I just got a chance to sit down and really take in the information that was being passed along. So that was good. I think the challenge, and it's always going to be for me a challenge, is that it was kind of impersonal. So you didn't always get to take the time to get to know the person or the people in the room across from you. But I think that was really the only bad takeaway and from it.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. So let's get to the heart and soul. We're in a new year. If I put you in front of a bunch of grade school kids, let's say third graders, it's career day, you come in and one of the kids in the room is like, hey, what do you do for a living? How do you answer that child?
So what I do is I support athletes, and I support businesses and organizations that are involved in sports on the business side. So with the athletes, I'll help them with their contracts. I'll negotiate for them and vouch for them and sell them as they work to get the best contract they can possible. I also help them with whatever commercial and sponsorship opportunities they have, like Nike, Adidas, New Balance, you name it. If there's a food company or an organization that wants that athlete's face, wants to make that athlete the face of their product, I'll also help the athlete negotiate a contract and navigate the process of becoming that face of that franchise through the sponsorship process. Now, for businesses, what I'll do is I'll support them and consult with them within their process of basically going through what we call rights holders deals. So, like, it's if you have like an international tournament, like the upcoming Olympics, and obviously NBC is going to do the broadcasting here, but let's just say the broadcasting was up, and I was picked by the IOC, which is the International Olympic Committee, to help them find a broadcaster. Well, what I would do is put together a package and help them be able to tell the story of everything they're offering to a network as far as that broadcast. Or I can sit down with them and work with and support them as they work with the host nation or the host city with the facilities and stadiums that they're going to be operating and functioning in.
So essentially, you're going to be probably the most popular speaker at that career day. Those kids are going to be totally hitting you with a million questions.
I would hope not, but, yeah, I'll be ready for it, put it that way. I will be ready for it.
So let me take you back to that time in your life when you were a kid dreaming about what your life was going to become. What was your ultimate dream? Was this ever on your radar, your career now?
Sports has always been on my radar. My original foray into college was at Hampton University and getting into broadcast journalism, obviously with a sports focus. As my barber Mike would say, life starts life, and then you got to live life on life's terms. And had to take a 20-year detour into the military, and now I'm back in sports management. So to a degree, yeah, because it's sports. I could say, yeah, this is right on where I wanted to be. I can say I much rather would have liked to have worn pads for 10 or 15 years than than this part of it. But I'm involved in sports, really happy about it, and it's a joy for me.
So take me back to your childhood, where you were born and raised, and what were these foundational elements of not only liking and loving sports, but getting to a point where you're representing the athlete and you're on the business end of this big business of sports?
So I have always been a sports fan. I mean, just downright nerdy about it. I would go in the library as a child and read books about sports and notice that Joe Namath wore like 2 or 3 different helmets, face masks, maybe not helmets, but face masks. I knew about Pele, Johan Cruyff, George Best before, the premiership got to be a thing. I can remember my dad taking us to Old Memorial Stadium in Baltimore and us sitting in those little seats and, me having all my baseball cards of the Orioles and whoever they were playing that day. And 9 times out of 10, Elrod Hendricks was the only person we could get an autograph from. But, it's and it's a familiar thing also. My dad's side especially is a large family. All of us were involved in sports. And the thing about being around my dad, my grandfather, my uncles, and my older cousins was, by about 14 or 15, it was sort of that rite of passage where you could sit with them and talk about sports. And you had to know what you were talking about. They either weren't going to pay attention to you or send you on your way because they were only having 2 conversations. It was either a conversation about sports or a conversation about politics. That was it. Nothing else was going to happen. So, me having that nerdy love for it, that was right in my wheelhouse. By the time I was about 15 or 16, being able to sit with them and talk about sports. I can also say I was blessed enough to be on the athletic field and cross paths with some folks from the 757 in Virginia at the same time I was in high school. So that was obviously great also. I got to play against Aaron Brooks, who played quarterback for the Saints, Antoine Womack, who he spent some time in the NFL, David Macklin, Dre Bly, Allen Iverson. I graduated in '94, went to high school. Went to Hampton to start college in the fall of '94. Michael Vick and Ronald Curry were starting high school, so the high school experience was great. That time on campus at Hampton University, I was heavily involved in sports. I got to do games on the radio, and the athletic department was strong at the time. So that was an excellent experience. I got to experience working in the SID's department and being alongside the athletic director from time to time. So, I got to help out a young Gus Johnson and a young Mark Jones with this is before ESPN was a family of networks. It was just ESPN and ESPN2. So I would say sports has always been a part of my life.
So the one thing, too, about your line of work is you have to establish relationships with these athletes that are obviously adorned, yet they're human. And, there's so many facets that go into that. I'm curious in your life, maybe when you were younger as a fan, what was the first positive interaction with an athlete or a star that gave you this notion that this is the kind of career or life that you wanted to go after?
I don't know if it was a positive interaction. It was more the experience of being with my dad. My dad worked hard, but he always found time to be at my baseball games, football games, whatever the case may be, on my sister's basketball games, softball games, whatever that may be. And this was a period when he was working 2 jobs for a while during that period. He would start in the morning, you would hear him leave about 5:30, 6 o'clock, and go to the shipyard in Newport News and somehow he was fighting traffic on 64 and ended up in Williamsburg at Anheuser-Busch, at what was then Anheuser-Busch Brewery by 4 o'clock, and would work till 12 midnight. And somewhere in between all that, he found time to get to all of our games. So that would probably be the biggest influence, is that experience with him. Like I said, on his side, our family is really large. I got to experience seeing my cousins perform for my high school as a young child, so that was always a dream of mine, to play for my high school, which I got to do. Didn't get to do it much, but I got to do it. So that obviously is another wonderful experience for me personally. I think now it's being able to support in whatever way I possibly can the younger generation of athletes coming along, because I take the mentality of the athlete first in the work that I do, and I'm very honest and very straightforward about it. I'm there to support you, and I express that in a very honest manner, because in the end, if the athlete is not happy, healthy, and in the right state of mind, he's not going to do anything on the athletic field of consequence, or there's always going to be some sort of drama following him or her in whatever athletic endeavors they partake in.
So I'm curious, who has been that hero for you in your life? Who's been that inspiration that has fueled you in your life and career?
Oh, it's been so many. Obviously, my parents, numerous family members of mine. I got to work with Ron Pinckney during my time at Hampton University. God rest his soul. During that time, I got the experience. I worked at WHOV, the radio station, and during that period, me and Sashi Brown, who's the executive VP now, he was with the Wizards, and now I think he's with the Commanders. I got to work with him on the radio. Anthony Amy, who was at ESPN for a while, he is now teaching at UVA broadcast. He's at UVA of Virginia Tech. I got to work with him. So DJ Envy, Breakfast Club in the morning, I was crossing paths with him on a regular basis. With Kia Mays, Vibe Magazine, when, Vibe Magazine was actually a hot thing. She helped me do my first radio show. I did my first radio show with her. I've had numerous sergeant majors throughout my military career that, whether it's just standing by me or giving me an encouraging word that, helped me keep going forward. From a professional perspective of, the business I'm in now, I look at guys like Steve Stout. He's on a podcast speaking about the work that he does on the life he's lived. I'm listening to it. Obviously, when you look at his career, it speaks for itself. Somebody else who really inspired me was Clarence Avant. I'd heard the name before, but I really didn't know who he was until I saw his documentary on him on Netflix. Yeah, that's where I'm trying to get to in life.
So speaking of getting there, take me back to the beginnings when you got into this business. Was there a first client moment where you saw that things were happening, you saw a twinkle in someone's eye, and you knew this was your calling, this was the life that you should be leading?
I don't know if it was that. It was more of maybe a phone conversation I had where I've had numerous young people who want to get into the business look me up on LinkedIn, and this was happening a lot during the pandemic, where they would reach out, connect, and just ask me questions about, during that interview process, whether it was for a class or whatever the case was, about the business and how to get in the business and the right direction to go. And some of the conversations I had really, really kept me going during the pandemic and really inspired me, because I was able to pass along the knowledge I did have and just be supportive to someone else.
So talk to me a little bit about some athletes that you've taken on that has really allowed you to grow, that's really given you that experience. Maybe there was some rough parts of it, but it was just a part of the business that really helped you grow into this role that you have today.
Oh, well, I can tell you about a bad experience I had that really kind of grew me into this role and kind of showed me that this is first and foremost a dog-eat-dog world. Kind of exposed me to the realities of the business, if you will. So I do international basketball, FIBA, and this is 2018. And had a team reach out to me from Croatia and said they were looking for a guard and a power forward. Okay, all right. I'd had some kids reach out a few weeks earlier, and I had put some feelers out there. One kid was local here to Seattle, and gathered the information, put together some resumes, got some video, and sent it on to them. And, a couple of days later, they were like, yeah, we love it. We want these two. Okay, fine, cool. Okay, let's talk contracts. Okay, they sent me over a contract, standard FIBA contract, all things considered for the situation, pretty good pay. Everything seemed to be going along smooth. I talked to the two kids, and they were like, yeah, we're on board. Let's go. I reached back out to the club and told them, yeah, the two kids were interested. They're ready to go. Let's do up the paperwork. And, we'll get this show rolling and be ready for the upcoming season. And, I'm going through the paperwork, and I read something that just didn't sit well with me. I look at the other kid's contract. Same thing is in there. I've already got them getting their passports and stuff together. They're packing up clothes, getting ready, preparing to go in a couple of weeks. I read the contract. The next day, I read it again. Because, when I originally saw the issue, it was kind of late in the evening, and I'm thinking, I'm tripping. Nah, this is crazy. Let me look at this again in the morning and reach out to them, and then everything will be straight. Well, the team wanted two players to pay for some travel expenses and logistical expenses and registration expenses that the team should have been paying for. And so I talked to the two guys. I said, hey, go look at line so-and-so, and let's read over that. And so the one of the kids' mother was heavily involved. She said, yeah, I saw that. I thought that was interesting. I said, yeah, that's problematic. That's not supposed to be there. They're supposed to be taking care of all of this for you. And if not, I will make sure that they're taking care of all of this. And so we stopped everything right where it was. And the next day I reached out to the team in Croatia, emailed them, hey, can you guys get back to me? We've got some concerns with the contract. So this went on. So this game of tag went on for about 2 or 3 days, and ended up going through the weekend, and I don't hear anything back from them. Okay, so look the club up again, try a phone number out to Croatia, and nothing. Okay, well, what is going on? So I look up the club again. Club's legitimate. They're on FIBA's website. But what I noticed is that they're also up at the tribunal for late payments, substandard conditions, or not paying players at all. So I said, oh, shucks, here we go. I'm finally able to get through to someone from the club, and that person has no idea what's going on. Okay. Stop the brakes right here. We're not doing this. So I had reached, I'd asked to be contacted by some form of leadership in the club in the next 24 hours. 2 days went by, I didn't hear a thing. And so I told the guys, hey, look, we're canceling this. And one of the kids was pretty upset with me. Lost him as a client. Haven't heard from him since. I tried to explain to him, hey, I believe I just stopped what could have been a very bad situation. You could have been in a foreign country like Croatia with no contact and a club unwilling to help you. The other kid that was local, he just quit basketball in general. And, I think I've seen him around once or twice, but that's about it. And so it was humbling, it was troubling, heartbreaking, but a lesson learned all at the same time.
Wow. That's crazy. Well, and that had to provide an ample amount of growth, and that leads into my next question here, which is this. You're dealing in a business that's really tough. It's cutthroat. There's a lot going on. You have to be at the top of your game. What is that motivation for you every day to do this job at the top of your game, but also to take care of yourself as a human being and evolve and develop? What is that collective energy for you every day?
Is that collective energy? I'm going to tell you something. I really found out where I am on my spiritual walk in the last month or so. And I say that because of the way that I feel like the good Lord has shown up in my life. And I say that because I felt like the good Lord has always shown up with peace and calm in my life. There's a moment when the sun will pop out, just like it's doing right now, finally at about going on 9 o'clock in the morning here in Seattle. That will bring me calm. And it's one of those things I was I have to admit I was struggling with in life. But over the last month or so, I've that kind of settled me down, and then committed myself to some different spiritual work. I've never been that stereotypical black church hoop hollering and falling out type in the first place, and that's never how the Spirit has moved in my life. But I did find a passage of verses that have kept me going. And one thing I've always done is remember who I've passed and interacted with along the way in life. They've made it. I can make it too.
So let me ask you this. If you had a dream tonight and you ran into the 18-year-old version of you, you could give that young version of you a piece of advice based on this life you've lived, the wisdom you've accumulated over all these years. What advice would you give to that young version of you?
Man, speak up and stand tall. Speak up and stand tall. I would say one of the challenges I've worked through as getting closer to 50, prioritizing me. I've never been the center of a person to be the center of attention or to try and make everything about myself. I wasn't raised that way. Associating, networking, connecting, and socializing with people has always seemed to be a process of me being kind of laid back, easygoing, easy to approach. Generally getting along with everybody. And then you top along a military career where, for 16 years of it, it was wiping noses and making sure everybody got up, showered, went to the bathroom and shaved. One of the things in the last couple of months or so that I began to focus on is making sure I'm prioritizing me within that process. Because
so
go ahead.
Sorry about that. No, you're good. You're good.
Because I think I can. If I'm honest with myself, I can say that I hadn't always prioritized me. Everybody else has been, the priority, making sure that whatever it was taken care of, and that was both professionally and personally.
So of everything that you've done and accomplished in your career up to this point, what rises to the top? What are you ultimately the proudest of?
Well, first and foremost, that I am still standing. That, that I got to the point where I have a business on my own. I got to a place where I'm functioning for self. I got to a place where I'm doing things for Adam. That's first and foremost. I think one of the great experiences I had was I went to the Combine in 2018. This is the Baker Mayfield, Saquon Barkley, USC quarterback Sam Darnold, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson draft. I went to that Combine and got to experience everything that the Combine is. That was a wonderful experience. I got to see some of my old heroes in football, as they go into their lighter years, if you will. That was a wonderful experience. I've also been able to do some things with FIFA as far as soccer and the MLS goes, which has been wonderful. So, yeah.
So at the end of the day, everyone out there has a perception of you. Family, friends, clients, everyone that works with you, but you run the show. Ultimately, what's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Wow. Damn.
Yeah, that's the therapy hour.
Well, shit. I believe I'm a good individual. I believe I'm a supportive person also. I believe I'm the guy that, while I am learning to prioritize myself, I'm the guy that answers the phone. I'm the guy that picks up on the other end. I'm the guy that's got a good word. I tend to believe I'm also the guy that's got the right information to pass along at the right time.
So I'm curious, for anyone out there that's younger, as you had mentioned during the pandemic, you got reached out to a lot. If there's people out there that want to get into your line of work, what's the best way for young people to get themselves to a point where they train and they get their eye on this career? How would that happen?
Well, there's a number of different methods you can go. And I say that because of life experience I've had. there, all you got to do is do a Google search. There are universities or colleges out there that have a full-on sports or athletic administration program, or a minor in sports business or sports administration within the kinesiology department. So there's business schools that have sports administration or sports marketing. There's obviously schools that have marketing, so that's a way to do it. There's obviously schools that have a public relations department, have public relations focus, and that's another way to get into it. Now there's also online schools like what I did with Sports Management Worldwide out of Portland, where I learned the athlete representation portion, learned about athletic administration, and then I learned about sports media communications through them. So you can go that route and get the certifications and, push forward. If your focus is... Oh, go ahead.
No, you're good. You're good. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry. There's a delay, so yeah, it's sometimes it's kind of weird.
Oh, no problem. If you're more into the international sports or you live in Europe, because of, the logistics and the local ties and the process to get how many other countries to agree on the same thing, the regulations are a lot looser. So you can get involved. You can be an agent at 18 if you want to. You do your paperwork, you pass your test, pay your fees, and, you're done.
So I got to know, if we get off this call and a time machine pulls up in front of your house and you can go anywhere in the history of sports and be present for one game, feel the energy, be there, where are you going?
Oh, shit. 1968.
Okay.
I believe it was played at Yankee Stadium. Grambling versus Morgan State. This is the game that sets black college football forward. All of the classics you see today, that game is the foundations of what you see with the Soul Bowl, Music City Classic, the Florida Classic, the Bayou Classic. That game is kind of the foundations for it. Bill Roden from, I think it's now first in, no, and it was, I think it's now first in Penn. It was Anscape. He's been at ESPN for years. He played in that game.
Wow. So let me ask you this. If anyone out there, their interest is piqued, they're curious about what you do, they want to reach out, anyone out there that is interested in this world that you have and what the services you provide, where is the best place for them to go?
I got a website. Just type in Spencer Group International. I got Instagram. Just type in Spencer Group International. I'm on there. Send me a DM. I got Twitter, Spencer Group International. Send me a DM. I'm there.
Beautiful, man. This has been wonderful. Adam, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your story. Best of luck with everything. I appreciate it, man.
Hey, Joe, appreciate you, man.
Thanks for tuning in to another famous interview with Joe Domino, where we cover the world of art, literature, business, spirituality, music, and more from around the globe. Our esteemed theme music was composed and produced by the great E.E. Pointer of Kansas City's River Cow Orchestra. If you want to hear more interviews, visit the Famous Interviews with Joe Domino channel on YouTube. You can also find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Thanks again for listening, and until next time.